do have a timeout. Decide not to use it. Curry, way downtown. Bang! Bang! Oh, what a shot from Curry!
What's up, everybody? My name is Ethan. This is Courtside TV. If you're new, don't forget to subscribe, and let's get into it. So, today we're going to talk about the New Orleans Pelicans, and a lot of people have kind of forgotten about this team. They've been relatively quiet this offseason. I mean, despite trading away Drew Holiday and making some other big moves, bringing in Steven Adams, Eric Bledsoe and stuff. A lot of that kind of got overshadowed because the Drew Holiday trade, a lot of people were talking about what that means for Milwaukee and not as much as what it means for New Orleans here. And making some other moves, having that 13th overall draft pick, and this team has kind of been forgotten about in the Western Conference, and I didn't even mention them in my video about the Suns yesterday, but this is a team that is also in the playoff bubble. Like I was talking about, the Western Conference is just so tough, but the Pelicans are one of those teams that can be challenging for this spot, and they were a big story going into the bubble this last season. They were expected to, they had an easy schedule at the end of the year. Maybe they can make a run, put together some wins and get into one of those play-in games for that 8th seed, and it just ended up never working out for them. The Suns were better, the Grizzlies were better, the Blazers were better, and all three of those teams were in that mix for that play-in game. The Pelicans were out of it pretty quickly. They just never really put it together. So this is a team that had a lot of hype around them, but have kind of been pretty quickly forgotten about. We forget that Zion Williamson is, still Zion Williamson, despite, a rough rookie year for him. He had a lot of injury struggles, but when he was on the court, he was playing really well. We just saw the full potential of Zion, just the extreme athleticism, the rebounding ability, the thunderous dunks around the rim, just crazy stuff from him. Averaging over 20 points in the few games that he did play, but Zion is obviously a guy who still has an extreme amount of potential and still has the possibility to be one of the greatest players in the league in not too short of a time frame. And it kind of feels like this offseason we've kind of forgotten about him a little bit, which is kind of weird. But I do want to talk about what the rest of this roster looks like and, how good I think they might be. They brought in Steven Adams, as part of that big 4-team trade. I believe it was the same trade that got rid of Drew Holiday as well. A lot of moving pieces there. But basically by rerouting George Hill to OKC, a couple other pieces going there as well to fill salary, they were able to bring in Steven Adams and also sign him to a contract extension, so he would have been an expiring contract at around $28 million per season. Now instead he's got 2 more years on it at about $17 million per year. So, he gets a little bit of a downgrade in salary, but he is still a very good player. They clearly have plans to make him their starting center for the next couple of years after losing Derek Favors in free agency, which, I think Adams is a better player than Favors right now. I don't think that's very controversial to say that. And I think he's a guy who will be able to come in. Him and Zion obviously are both very strong. They'll be, one of the better rebounding teams in the league, considering Adams' just height, and he's one of the strongest players, as well as Zion just being extremely athletic and also very strong himself. So they'll be able to tear down a lot of rebounds, be really hard to stop on the offensive glass. They'll get a lot of offensive boards as well, be one of the hardest teams to block out that way. So that's something to look at there, how they have, a really strong front court there. And then as well as bringing in Eric Bledsoe. Now, Eric Bledsoe is not Drew Holiday, but he is kind of, some people consider him to be Drew Holiday light. He does a lot of the same things that Drew does. He's pretty solid on defense, a pretty decent playmaker. Drew is obviously a much better shooter than Bledsoe is, and also probably better defensively and better playmaking. But Bledsoe is like, a lot of those same skills, just kind of a watered down version of it. So you're getting, a couple of, the same type of player, just with a little less production, which is honestly fine, considering that you're getting back 3 first-round picks and 2 swaps for your troubles. So they were able to, get him in, and he should be able to play here with Lonzo Ball in the backcourt. I think Lonzo would probably start alongside Bledsoe, unless I'm crazy. I think they can probably start those two together and bring Redick off the bench, unless they're moving Lonzo to a bench role or they want to force Bledsoe into a bench role. I'm not really sure how that's going to work there, but if it was me, I would prioritize Lonzo Ball starting, considering he is still a guy that you have a lot invested in, and he is going into his final year of his rookie contract. He hasn't been handed an extension yet. I don't necessarily anticipate that to happen before the starter next year. I think Lonzo, they're probably just going to ride it out with that last year of his rookie contract, see what he's got before they, decide how much money they're willing to go. They already maxed Brandon Ingram, and so they're, kind of going to be tentative on how much you really think Lonzo Ball is worth it for the team. And he'll be a restricted free agent, so you can bring him back for whatever it takes, but they're going to try to figure out how much they think that's going to be worth there. So, he's still only 23, was the second overall pick in the draft a couple of years ago. Now his brother's in the league. So Lonzo, I think it's kind of a prove-it year for him. He's been okay so far in his career, but, hopefully he can kind of take that next jump because he's really kind of been treading water for his first three seasons. I would like to see him make some improvements in his fourth year. And then, like I said, JJ Redick's an expiring contract. If they're not very good at the deadline, maybe they, flip him somewhere else to a contender, see what he can do there. Nicolo Melli, Josh Hart, Nickeil Alexander-Walker will kind of round out that rotation there. Drafted Kyra Lewis at 13th overall, who a lot of people seem to like. He's really, really fast point guard up and down the court. This team seems like it'll play with a lot of pace there. They'll kind of be up tempo, flying down the floor with Zion and Kyra Lewis and Bledsoe, JJ Redick off the catch and off the dribble. This team figures to be pretty fun to watch, especially if Zion can take another jump. But looking at their roster right now, I believe they only have 10 players under contract right now. I don't think that counts Kyra Lewis, who they haven't signed his rookie contract left. So I think that's 11 players under contract there. So this roster isn't done yet. It seems like most of the free agents have kind of been scooped up, and I don't believe they have any cap space. It doesn't look like maybe they have a little cap space left now after trading away Drew Holiday, but I'm not really sure on that, and not all the moves have been official, so it's kind of hard to find, exact salary cap data. But they might have another move or two left in them here. It feels like they're not quite done building the roster for next year, just because, they just don't have a full roster of players, and it feels like this isn't quite the final rotation that we're going to see. Maybe there's another move in them, but as, on paper, what they have right now, this looks like a pretty solid team. They've got a good mix of veterans with some young guys. Like I said, Adams, Bledsoe, and Redick, all, guys in their, mid to late 20s and 30s, veterans there who can, come in and be important pieces of a playoff team, as well as obviously the young guys, Zion Williamson, Josh Hart, Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram, who has been signed as well. So, they're going to have a good rotational mix of all sorts of different types of guys that should be enough to get them, into playoff consideration in the West. But as I was talking about with the Suns yesterday, it is just so tough in the Western Conference. It's just hard for me to see them above a lot of the other teams that are going to be in the playoff picture next year. If you're talking about teams in that 7 to 10 range that could potentially get into the play-in game, you're talking about teams like the Grizzlies. Are they better than the Grizzlies? Where they weren't last year, but they've made some improvements. The Grizzlies haven't really gotten any better. So, if Zion is healthy, you could potentially say that they're better than them. Are they better than the Phoenix Suns? Probably not. With Chris Paul and Devin Booker, I wouldn't put them over Phoenix. Are they better than the Golden State Warriors? We have no idea what that team's going to look like. They have a healthy Steph back, but without Klay Thompson, that kind of knocks them down a peg. Who knows how good they're going to be. It depends on how Steph Curry looks. Let's see, who else is in that range? Are they better than the Spurs? Probably. The Kings? Probably. Are they better than the Utah Jazz? Because that's a team that I'm expecting to take a little step back. They could potentially be better than Utah. I don't know. There's no reason to believe that they're going to be worse than last year, but they haven't really made any improvements, and the rest of the conference has gotten better around them. So, maybe you could talk yourselves into that there. Are they better than the Dallas Mavericks, considering how good Luka Doncic is? Probably not. But maybe if Kristaps isn't healthy, who knows? So there's a path to the playoffs for the New Orleans Pelicans here. They have to have a couple things break their way. It's all just going to depend on how good Zion looks right away, because, if there's any indication, he should be pretty solid. Just hoping that he can stay healthy and, continue to keep his weight down, and just look, even better than he did last year. Any improvement out of Zion would be most likely due to conditioning and just staying in shape, and that will really help him to be able to reach his full potential. So hopefully he's been working over the offseason, and they'll be able to, because obviously he's a really skilled player, and just a freak of nature athlete. So it stands to reason that he should be better in year 2. Only 20 years old still, so he's still got a lot of time. But if Zion is good, this team is a playoff team. So we will just have to see exactly how good they're going to be. So that's all I got for you today on the New Orleans Pelicans. Hope you guys enjoyed that one. Like I said at the top of the video, if you're new, don't forget to subscribe, leave a like, ring the bell if you want to, leave a comment, letting me know what you think about the Pelicans and their offseason. How, do you think they are a playoff team in the Western Conference? I'd love to hear from you. Any other ideas for videos you'd like to hear me talk about in the next couple of weeks, leave those down there as well. With all that said, I'll see you guys in the next one.